Just want to welcome everybody back to this conversation that we've been having, folks, all throughout Character Day. Today, of course, is the premiere of our newest films. And I'm, by the way, when I say our, my name is Arnie Johnson, and I'm a frequent collaborator with the Moxie Institute and LetItRipple.org on the films that they've been making. And they asked me to ask some questions of people here today in these conversations. So our films that have come out today, The Adaptable Mind, The Making of a Mensch, and also last year, The Science of Character, are all sort of revolving around this issue of character and sort of the future of the human species, if you will, in a bigger sense. Apropos of that, for our next conversation, we'll be talking to somebody who has a lot of deep experience of and involvement with human beings all across the world and all of the things that we do to survive. And Harold Brooks, Senior Vice President of International Operations for the American Red Cross. Harold, welcome to the conversation today.
Thank you.
Harold, and just as a FYI for everyone, we're in a technical wraparound, maybe a slight delay in some of the answers and questions, but otherwise it should go great. Harold, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do and your background, and maybe some of the kinds of innovations and things that you've been bringing to the world of crisis response?
Well, I've been for the last 40 years involved, engaged, working for the American Red Cross. In that capacity, have the privilege of responding to and helping people cope with disasters. And you know, it's been a very rewarding way to spend my time. Now what I'm working on, which I'm excited about, is a new initiative called the 1 Billion Coalition for Resilience, where the ambition is to help to make resilient one person in every household in the world. So we've got 7 billion people. If we can put one resilient person in every household, we will believe we will have resilience and hopefully make a safer world as a result of that.
Wonderful. You know, I've usually at these places in these conversations, I've been jumping in and asking questions and bringing it to the audience to ask questions. But we already have actually a fantastic questions. A conversation I would love to begin, especially in the context of Character Day today. This question from our audience is: in emergencies, both the best and worst of humanity emerge. You face massive emergencies daily. Is there a method of steering people to making choices for the greatest good? And it sounds like that may be something you're already doing with this resiliency project, but can you talk a little bit more about it in the context of this question?
Now, that's a wonderful question, and you're so right. Or the question it has embedded in it some real truth, and that is, we find that the best and worst come out at times of disasters, and the Red Cross, the magnet, and you'll find people doing such selfless work as working for 24 hours straight to help get people out of harm's way, to do the search and rescue, to do whatever it takes to alleviate the suffering of people. Now, you know, there are those who will see a fire or see where people have left a building and try to go in and loot, but that's by far the minority. The vast majority of people, man and woman, when they're in a moment of crisis.
Great. And do you find that when you're, I'm really interested in this, if you can take a deeper dive into the building resiliency, because that's something that I think is an interesting and kind of word in the context of crisis. And can you talk a little bit about what you mean by building resiliency and a little bit more detail about how you do that?
Question is how do you build resilience, and it's built community by community. It's built really household by household, and it's so contextual for me to say what I know to make for resilience is one thing, but it to what the people of Syria have to confront and deal with to make sure that their family is resilient. I grew up in let's
Hmm.
so for us, you start making steps towards resilience by having a kit that has all of the kind of first aid and things that you'll need for a period of 72 hours, get some training, and do everything you can to have a plan for your loved ones, and in the case of an emergency. But if you go to one of the slums that are just getting bigger and bigger all the time, say Kibera, which is in Nairobi, their definition of resilience is going to probably focus more on livelihoods. Do they have enough money, health, safe water, and things that we take for granted? So we are going into these different communities around the world and to help us to define what they consider to be resilient in their context. And then we help to get them organized and provide as many of the resources as we can, but also ask them to bring resources to bear. And that resilience will be something that is completely owned by the household and by the communities that we're working in.
Now, do you find that with it when you're working in so many locations around the world, obviously, and is there a shift in this building resilience? Is there sort of a shift, or is this something that's been true of the American Red Cross for a long time, to build some kind of sort of pre-emergency that makes it more, not only like make people more resilient, but also prepare crisis response to be more easy and more flexible, and so that when you go into a community, people know who you are, they're connected to this idea already, so that people can be organized into truly helpful ways quickly?
Yeah, and really the key when communities organize amongst them, and that's the road to resilience. Preparedness is one of the small steps that you can take toward resilience. It has more to do with seeing to it that you've got all of the things you're going to need, and that you're willing to step out there and help your loved ones first, your neighbors, and your larger community to comes down the pike. But once you begin to move up the hierarchy, if you will, and take those steps that are going to see to it that all of the things that you're going to need to be a safe, healthy are in place. This is learning and up against the particular conflict that they're facing. And you think of one of the most resilient countries that I've seen recently, and it's Nepal, where these people who are used to living way up high in mountains and able to get by with very little, when they were hit by this terrible earthquake, they demonstrated that was beyond it. He did it with such humility and with such selflessness, where they were looking and asking their neighbors how they could help them when they were certainly in need themselves. So I keep getting a better, deeper definition of resilience that I make with communities around the world.
Great, and I'm curious also within your organization. I mean, the work of the American Red Cross to jump into situations that are difficult and fraught culturally and emotionally. What kinds of things do you do internally with folks who work at the front lines of the Red Cross to prepare them, to put them in a state of mind and a state of heart where they're ready to truly help? Because, all, it's one thing to go into a community and immediately bring resources, but then those resources have to be divided. We have all seen those pictures of people crowding around areas where water are being given out to people who are dying of thirst. And talk a little bit about how people who are at the front lines of the operations of American Red Cross, how do you prepare them both, sort of emotionally and mentally to handle those situations? Sort of your internal resilience, if you will.
Yeah, job one is that people understand. They will, those volunteers, those people. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Because I put the phone on mute so there wouldn't be an echo. I don't know if that helped or hurt.
Perfect. By
community leaders, the government, the Red Cross responders, assuring people that we're going to be there from the beginning through to the end. It allows them to trust and relax and know that they're going to be taken care of. That, so the very emblem of the Red Cross symbol kind of that people know that they will be well cared for. So that's a big piece of it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you, I'm sort of emphasizing these sides of the question. Obviously, this is Character Day.
Yes.
And so there's obviously a lot of things you do that go well beyond this realm. But do you have a sort of a way of strengthening sort of professionally in your operations? Or do you see certain traits that are especially important for being an American Red Cross worker? What are the things you look for, and how do you emphasize those in the people who do this work?
There is, as I mentioned earlier, this kind of invisible but strong magnet that draws certain people to the mission of the Red Cross. The organization at the international level has fundamental principles of humanity, impartiality, unity, universality, which everybody who signs us that these are important and will be a big part of how they operate, how they will deal with people. And so we do everything we can to deepen that through training and seeing to it that the volunteers and members of the team have everything they need to take good care of people.
Sorry, Harold, there's a little delay. So do you, one of the things, I don't know if you've had a chance to see the film, The Adaptable Mind, or Making of a Bench, or The Scientific Character, but one of the things that is really emphasized empathy in this sort of range of skills that are really important for the next century that we're facing. And I can't imagine, doing the work with the American Red Cross without having some empathy in yourself. And do you find that it's difficult for people to gain a level of empathy considering the things that they've seen, or does it just tend to amplify their connection to the world? I mean, I'm just thinking in terms of how real and raw can you keep your sense of empathy when you're entering into crises that are so large?
I have been at this, as I mentioned, for 40 years and have other folks who've been doing this for even longer than me. And there's this just very powerful re-energizing and reconnecting with this important mission that I think keeps us from becoming calloused or hardened to it. You'll find if you're around Red Crossers and really other people who are in this human. A lot of hugging and a lot of crying. You know, we share our stories, encouragement to put it all out there, and to know that that by itself is the reward. That no, I don't think that that's a problem. Um, I certainly have never lost my empathy, and tell you that I'm humbled by the many wonderful people that are out there doing this work every day at 3 in the morning, and when they're done with it, thank me for giving them a vehicle and an opportunity to go out and do this work. And again, it just makes you tear up and want to hug somebody.
It does make me feel that way right now. We're just about wrapped up here. Last thing I would like to just ask you, for folks who are, I think, in the larger conversation about empathy, and I think in this film there have been some things that have tracked a sort of fall in empathy amongst college students, and I wonder, from your perspective, can you talk a little bit about what you've seen and your sort of sense of hope or optimism generated by what you've just been talking about?
You know, I believe that these notions of what do they call it, passion fatigue and a variety philanthropy is overstated, overblown. I've got kids who are, and who have finished and are out there doing the things that millennials do, and they're amazing. They're smarter than I was coming along, but ability to take a look at need and respond in ways that are more generous and more compassionate than even I. And I have a little bit of expertise in this, so I am totally optimistic about the future.
Great. Thank you so much, Harold, for joining us today, and also for navigating your way through the various wires and of the internet conversation. I'm so glad that we got it worked out.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much for what you're doing. Keep it up.
Great. Thank you, Harold. And just for all those who tuned in a little bit late, this is we're here talking about character on Character Day, and the premiere of our films, The Making of a Mensch and The Adaptable Mind, and the conversation is continuing. So stick around for the next great guest. Thanks again, Harold, for taking some time out of one of the more important schedules that we'll interfere with today. Thank you. Bye.